the scriptures actually define who a bastard is in the next verse. Go on.
Verse 3, an Ammonite or Moabite shall not enter into the congregation of the Most High. Even to their 10th generation shall they not enter into the congregation of the Most High forever.
It's coming. It's coming up. It's coming up because it's like a few seconds behind. Right? So it says a Moabite and an Ammonite, right? This is an illegal. The scriptures actually define. Perfect. Right? This is an illegal birth, right? We could look into this. This is Lot and his daughters, right? If we go to Leviticus chapter 18, it outlines that a man shall not approach someone near of kin. So that's also, that would be considered a product of an illegal marriage or illegal. So that is a bastard. A Moabite and an Ammonite are bastards, right? It says, they shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord
forever.
Even to their 10th generation, they shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord forever, right? So when I asked you and you said the priest, well, a Moabite and an Ammonite couldn't have been a priest anyway, right? So this isn't necessarily just talking about priest. Let's see. So now to find out what that is, right? What the congregation of the Lord is. Let's go to Lamentations chapter 1 and verse 8. Lamentations is after Jeremiah.
Chapter 1, verse 8. Mm-hmm. Chapter 1, verse 8.
Chapter 1, verse 8. Because this is very important, right? Jeremiah actually explains what the congregation of the Lord is, right? Go on.
Read it from the book of Lamentations, chapter 1, verse 8. Jerusalem has grievously sinned.
So he's saying Jerusalem have grievously sinned. We did a very serious sin. Go on.
Therefore she is removed.
And that's why we were sent into slavery.
All that honor her despise her, because they have seen her nakedness. Yea, she sigheth and turneth backward.
So it says everybody that honored her. Remember when King Solomon came? All these nations, they were tributaries to us. They came and they gave us their gold. They came and paid respect to our king. All these nations honored us, but now all of them have seen her naked. This isn't a literal naked. You could go back to Adam and Eve. Nakedness represents shame. When Moses came down from Mount Sinai and they had set up the calf, the golden idol, it said that Israel was naked also. So this is talking about shame. All these nations saw our shame. Go on.
Verse 9, her filthiness is in her skirts.
In the same way how the Most High said he's going to lift up Esau's skirts, this is talking about the Most High exposed us. Go on.
She remembered not her last end.
And we didn't remember the Most High. Go on.
Therefore she came down wonderfully.
And we fell down wonderfully. We went into captivity into all nations to this day. Go on.
She had no comforter.
She had no comforter.
O Most High, behold my affliction, for the enemy hath magnified himself.
So Jeremiah is lamenting, they call him the weeping prophet. He's lamenting about the condition of Israel. Go on.
The adversary hath spread out his hand upon all her pleasant things.
And we've seen this in 2 Kings when Nebuchadnezzar came in and they took all of our stuff out of the temple, right? They took everything out of the temple. Go on.
For she has seen that the heathen entered into her sanctuary.
So he's talking about the temple. So he says, the adversary had spread out his hand upon all her pleasant things. For she had seen that the heathen entered into her sanctuary. Go on.
Whom thou didst command that they should not enter into thy congregation.
So you see that right there?
Wow.
When the Most High said that they're not supposed to enter into the congregation of the Lord, this is talking about the temple. This is talking about the temple. Temple worship. So when it says a bastard, a man who's wounded in the stone or had his privy member cut off, this is saying that he cannot come to give sacrifice at the temple. When it says a Moabite and an Ammonite shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord, this is what it's talking about. They're not supposed to come to the temple, right? And the reason that I went here, right, is now let's go back to Genesis chapter 12, verse 1. Because Jeremiah explains what the congregation of the Lord is. It's talking about the temple. So when it says, let's read Genesis 12 and 3 again.
Read it from the book of Genesis, chapter 12, verse 3. And I will bless them that bless thee, and curse him that curses thee. And in thee shall all families of the earth be blessed.
So when it says that, right? So now we have to quantify certain things, right? We gotta all is not all, right? Because and let's go back to Deuteronomy 23, right? Because, you know, in verse 1, it's talking about a single individual. But let's go back to verse 3.
You said
23 and 3.
Read it from the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 23, verse 3. An Ammonite or Moabite shall not enter into the congregation of the Most High.
So the Most High is never going to accept the sacrifice of a Moabite and an Ammonite. So this is obviously not, and the point of this class is also to show that there's a distinction in the Most High's plan. All nations are going to come. All right, so go on. Let's finish that verse, and then we're going to go somewhere else.
Even to their 10th generation.
And when it says even to their 10th generation, it's talking about forever. It's not talking about 10 generations later, now they'll be able to go in. When the Bible uses numbers like, let's go to Revelations chapter 11. I want to show something. 11 and 13. Just to show what the 10th is talking about. Because when it says that, it doesn't mean literal like 10 after his kids had kids, 10 generations later, now they could sacrifice. That's not what it's talking about. Revelation 11 and 13.
Read it from the book of Revelations, chapter 11, verse 13. And the same hour was there a great earthquake, and the 10th part of the city fell.
And the 10th part of the city fell. This is talking about the destruction of America. So if you say the 10th part, the only 10% of America is going to get destroyed. No, this is talking about, when it say 10th, it's talking about all of it. So when it says that the Moabite and the Ammonite cannot enter into the 10th generation, it's talking about all of them can't come in. It don't matter what generation they are. The 10th generation means forever, all of it, right? So now I want to go to let's go to Isaiah chapter 2, verse 1. Because I want to address certain points that people make when they say about all people can come, right? Because the scriptures doesn't teach that all people can come. The teachers doesn't teach that everyone is welcome. In fact, I want to show certain scriptures and then we rationalize, because we have to harmonize the Bible. We have to make the Bible make sense, right? So Isaiah chapter 2, you can start at verse 2.
All right. Read it from the book of Isaiah, chapter 2, verse 2. And it shall come to pass in the last days that the mountain of the Most High's house shall be established in the top of the mountains.
So when it's talking about mountains, it's talking about nations and rulership, right? So it says the mountain of the Most High, the nation or the rulership of the Most High shall be established in the top of the mountain. So the Most High's people are going to be the people above all people. Mountains represent nations, right? Go on.
And shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations shall flow unto it.
And we're going to be, says the Most High's nation, his people, his land is going to be exalted, and all nations are going to flow into it. Go on.
Verse 3, and many people shall go and say, come ye, and let us go up to the mountain of the Most High, to the house of the power of Jacob.
Now it says, and all people shall go. Start from the top.
And many people shall go and say, come ye, and let us go up to the mountain of the Most High, to the house of the power of Jacob. And he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law and the word of the Most High from Jerusalem.
So this is talking about in the end. This is end goal, right? This is end goal, and we as Israelites, we have to realize what the end goal is, what the Most High's plan is. The Most High's plan is to set up Israel as that nation, just like how it was in the time of Solomon. We was that nation. We was that nation where all these nations come and honor us, right? It's going to be the same thing again, except now it's going to be a perpetual righteous nation. We're not going to go off again, right? And all nations, everybody is going to come because they want to know, why is the Most High dealing with these people like this? Let's go get our blessings too. So they're going to come and they're going to learn the law of the Most High from us, right? Go on.
Verse 4, and he shall judge among the nations.
And the Most High is going to judge these nations. Go on.
And shall rebuke many people.
And he's going to rebuke many people. Go on.
And they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore.
And this is the ultimate goal. We're going to beat them into submission, and there's not going to be any more war. So when the Jewish man, the Ashkenazi, say that he's the people of the book, go to Isaiah chapter 2, because it says when the Most High established his people back in his land, there's not going to be any more wars. They have never ceased from having wars over there since they went in there in 48.
That's right.
Right? So they don't fit the prophecy at all. Right. It's not them. This is real simple. Isaiah chapter 2. If you don't fit that, it says the nation's going to beat their swords in the plowshares and their spears in the pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. They're not going to be no more wars when we get established in the land. Right? So this is a chapter that people like to run to say, okay, everybody's in there. Right? So how we're going to defend this, right? Let's go to Zechariah chapter 14. Because all does not mean all, right? And people have to understand that. People really have to understand all does not mean all. Because there's many nations on this earth, yet the Most High specified, like in Deuteronomy 23, he specified Moabite and Ammonite can never come to the temple. So how they're supposed to give their sacrifice? Zechariah chapter 14, verse 16.
Read it from the book of Zechariah, chapter 14, verse 16. And it shall come to pass that every one that is left of all the nations which came against Jerusalem.
And we know if we on the paraphrase on the book of Maccabees, it says, what nation have not had their hands in our spoil?
That's right.
So every nation came up against Jerusalem.
That's right.
Right? Once we read through the scriptures, we realize, okay, so if every nation came up against Jerusalem, this is talking about every nation, right? Go on. Right. Let's start it back from the top.
All right. And it shall come to pass that every one that is left of all the nations which came against Jerusalem shall even go up from year to year to worship the King, the Most High of hosts, and to keep the Feast of Tabernacles.
So it says all of them, we've established that all of them came up against Jerusalem, but it says the ones that are left. So even in that one verse right there is letting you know that there's going to be some nations just not going to make it, right? And it says, and they're all going to come up to worship the king, right? Some people might trip on that word worship when it's talking about Yawasap, but
Right.
worship just means to give reverence to.
That's right.
Doesn't mean to give sacrifice to like we do,
Right.
like we're going to do to the Most High.
Okay.
Worship is a word that, you know, it can mean
It's tangled up.
it can mean different things, right?
Okay.
Go on.
Verse 17, and it shall be that whoso will not come up of all the families of the earth unto Jerusalem to worship the king, the Most High of hosts, even upon them shall be no rain.
So if they decide, hey, we're not dealing with Israel, man. We just not gonna go up there and pay our respects to Yahweh. Moses said, y'all ain't getting no rain.
That's right.
What you gonna do with no rain? You got a famine going on immediately. Your crops, your animals ain't got no water. Your crops can't grow. You got a famine. The Most High saying, y'all gonna come up here and y'all gonna bow, like Yahweh said, every knee shall bow and every tongue shall confess that Yahweh is Lord.
Right.
Everyone is gonna come and do it, right? Go on.
Verse 18, if the family of Egypt go not up and come not that have no rain, there shall be the plague wherewith the Most High will smite the heathen that come not up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles.
So if Egypt decide that they ain't gonna come, they're gonna get plagues and famine. Go on.
Verse 19, this shall be the punishment of Egypt and the punishment of all the nations that come not up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 20, and in that day shall there be upon the bells of the horses holiness unto the Most High, and the pots in the Most High's house shall be like the bowls before the altar.
So we're gonna set back up the, if you read in Exodus, I believe it's Exodus chapter 24, it mentions about all the stuff that the Most High had to gave him the design for the menorah, for the altars, for the bowls, the candlesticks, everything.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna reestablish all of that back in our temple. Go on.
Verse 21, yea, every pot in Jerusalem and in Judah shall be holiness unto the Most High of hosts.
Because we know Jerusalem literally was a parcel of land within the confines of the area given to Judah, right? Go on.
And all they that sacrifice shall come and take of them and see it therein. And in that day there shall be no more the Canaanite in the house of the Most High of hosts.
Ooh, so there's another nation that's not gonna be up coming in there, right?
Wow.
So now let's go back. Now let's go back to Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 15. Right? Because in the future, Canaanites will not be in the land, right? But now let's see what Ecclesiastes 3 and 15 says.
Read it from the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, verse 15. That which has been is now.
That which has been is now. Go on.
And that which is to be hath already been.
So, and the things that to be have already been.
And Yahweh requireth that which is past.
All right. So now the Most High says what happened before is going to come back again. So now let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 1. Why the Most High said the Canaanites ain't going to be in the land in the future, right? Because the Most High gave us a commandment when we went into the land pertaining to the Canaanites.
You said Deuteronomy
7 and 1.
Read it from the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 7, verse 1.
Mm-hmm.
When the Most High thy power shall bring thee into the land whither thou goest to possess it, and hath cast out many nations before thee, the Hittites, the Girgashites, and the Amorites, and the Canaanites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than thou.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 2, when the Most High thy power shall deliver them before thee, thou shalt smite them and utterly destroy them. Thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor show no mercy unto them.
So from even back then, when we went into the land, the Most High's plan was get these Canaanites out the land. The Canaanites ain't going to be in the land of the Most High, right? From back then, he had that in his design Get these Canaanites up out of here. Let's go.
Verse 2. Oh, Salah. Verse 3. Neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Thy daughter thou shalt not give unto his son, nor his daughter shalt thou give unto thy son. Verse 4. For they will turn away thy son from following me, that they may serve other gods.
And this is why. And now we've literally, you look around the state of Israel right now, you find 10 different Israelites who don't know who they are. You'll find 10 different gods they serve. Go on.
So will the anger of the Most High be kindled against you and destroy thee suddenly.
Now this is the point. Verse 5.
Verse 5.
So this is how the Most High wanted us to treat the Canaanites.
But thus shall ye deal with them.
So this is how you deal with the Canaanites.
Ye shall destroy their altars,
destroy their worship in place,
and break down their images,
destroy their images,
and cut down their groves, and burn their graven images with fire.
So we ain't supposed to make no. Verse 3 said, make no deals with them, no treaties with them, get them out the land, destroy all their stuff, right?
Right.
So when we go back in, Most High willing, we are part of that number. When we go back into the kingdom, that's another nation that's not going to be in the land, right? So if we keep in track right now, right, we know Moabite and Ammonites can't come to give sacrifice. Canaanites ain't going to be in the land. The Edomites is going to get destroyed. That's 3 nations. I don't even have the verses on the Edomites because we all know Edomites, very famous Obadiah. You want to know the future of the Edomites? Read Obadiah. It's really, really easy, right? I want to go into a little harder thing, right? But now, why is it that the Most High says this about the Canaanites, right? Now, why, right? Now, the Most High actually explains why, right? Got your Apocrypha. Let's go to the Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 12, verse 1.
Read it from the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 12, verse 1. For thine incorruptible spirit is in all things. Therefore chastenest thou them by little and little that offend, and warnest them by putting them in remembrance, wherein they have offended, that leaving their wickedness, they may believe on thee, O Most High.
So the Most High chasing us. He chasing us little by little, that we could bring back into remembrance these things, right? That the Most High require of us. Go on.
Verse 3. For it was thy will to destroy.
Whose will?
For it was thy will to destroy by the hands of our fathers.
It was the Most High's will to destroy by the hands of our fathers. Go on.
Both those old inhabitants of thy holy land.
So the Most High wanted us to destroy. Who was in the land before we came there?
Canaanites.
The Canaanites. So the Most High, it was his will for us, by our fathers' hands, for us to destroy the old inhabitants of the land. Right? Let's go. There's more on this.
Verse 4. Whom thou hatest for doing most.
Wait, we all know the Most High hate Esau, right? But what verse 4 say?
Verse 4. Whom thou hatest for doing.
So the Most High hate the Canaanites also. You see, this is what this scripture is saying. It's not just Esau the Most High hate. He hate the Canaanites also. Go on.
Whom thou hatest for doing most odious works of witchcraft and wicked sacrifices.
And he hate them because they do witchcraft and sacrifices, human sacrifices. Go on. There's more on this. Yeah. I suggest, we're going to go to a certain point, but read the whole chapter 12. Beautiful chapter in Wisdom of Solomon. Go on.
And also those merciless murderers of children.
Murderers of children. That's what the Canaanites were. Go on.
And devourers of man's flesh.
And they eat cannibalism. This still goes on in certain African parts. Go on.
And the feast of blood. Verse 6. With their priests out of the midst of their idolatrous crew. And the parents that killed with their own hands, souls destitute of help.
This is describing the Canaanites, right? Let's keep going. Keep going.
Verse 7, that the land which thou esteemedest all above above all other might receive a worthy colony of the Most High's children.
So the Most High said, get rid of all of them. Get rid of all of them. When we went into the land, right? This was our first going off is literally that. It's literally that. If you read in the book of Judges chapter 1, it mentions that the Most High said, since y'all ain't serious about killing these Canaanites, I'm not going to fight your battles for you. I'm going to leave them there as a thorn in your side. Right. So the Most High knew it wasn't like, oh, he's just got some vendetta against them. He knew that us being among them, we're going to go off into what they're into. But let's continue.
That the land which thou esteemest above all other might receive a worthy colony of the Most High's children. Nevertheless, even those thou sparedest as man, and didst send wasps, forerunners of thine host, to destroy them by little and little.
So even before, picture we coming out through the Red Sea with Moses, even before we got into the land, the scriptures say the Most High sent wasp on them. So even before we even got there, the Most High was already fighting our battles for us. He was already softening them up, getting them ready, because I don't know anybody here been stung by a wasp before. It's not a nice feeling. The Most High was jacking them up little by little. Go on.
Not that thou was unable to bring the ungodly under the hand of the righteous in battle, or to destroy them at once with cruel beasts, or with one rough word.
So he's saying, the Most High could have just got rid of them just like that. But let's go.
Verse 10, but executing thy judgments upon them by little and little, thou gavest them a place of repentance, not being ignorant that they were a naughty generation, and that their malice was bred in them, and that their condemnation would never be changed.
So the Most High knew, he's saying that the Most High could have just destroyed them by one word, but the Most High was giving them a chance to turn from their ways. But they didn't, because the Most High knew that there was a naughty generation. It says a naughty generation, and that their malice was bred in them. Now, us, right? The average, the black experience, the so-called black experience in America, right? We were sold by these people, the Canaanites, to our natural number one enemy, right? Mm-hmm. And now they come in our neighborhoods, get set up shop, and then when you deal with them, you hear akata, right? We in the bottom of society. Why kick somebody when they're down, right? This is the malice that's bred in them. We have no might in our hands, like the scriptures say. We have no might in this land. Why kick us when they're down? Because that hatred that they have for us is real. That hatred is inside of them, right? And so the Most High knew this. The Most High made them this way. So when he told us get rid of them out the land, that was a test for us. Are we willing to submit and listen, right? But let's go.
Verse 10, but executing thy judgments upon Verse 11, for it was a cursed seed from the beginning.
For it was a cursed seed from the beginning. Anybody know where they were cursed at?
When they with Abraham?
Nah, close. Noah. Because who we know, so it says that he's uncovered Noah's nakedness, right? Now, if you let a Christian tell it, they'll say he saw Noah naked, but we know that's not what it's talking about, right? But who did it?
Canaan.
Ham. But who got cursed for it?
Canaan.
It's the firstborn.
Canaan, exactly. So Noah put that curse on him, and we were supposed to fulfill that curse. There was a cursed seed from the beginning. Go on.
Verse 12, for who shall say, what hast thou done?
Again.
Oh, all right. For it was a cursed seed from the beginning, neither didst thou, for fear of any man, give them pardon for those things wherein they sinned.
And so the Most High, so Noah put the curse on Ham, and the Most High, through his will, he made them like this so that we can fulfill that curse. We can get them out of there. He made them like that for that purpose, right? Go on.
For who shall say, what hast thou done?
Mhm.
Or who shall withstand thy judgment?
So, and this goes into something similar like we found in Romans, and we're actually going to get that next, right? So he's asking, but who could say, well, why the Most High do this? Why he made them like that? Why he cursed them? Why he wanted us to kill them, right? Or who shall withstand our judgments? So who could stand up against the Most High's judgment? Go on.
Or who shall accuse thee for the nations that perish?
And who could blame the Most High when he says, destroy this nation of people? Go on.
Whom thou hast made. Or
And the Most High made them. How you gonna blame the Most High and accuse them, right? Go on.
or who shall come to stand against thee to be a revenge for the unrighteous men?
Or who could say, you know what, the Most High went too far, killing these Canaanites. We gonna get revenge. Who can do this, right? And now I want to show the same thought echoed in Romans chapter 9, verse 21. Romans chapter 9, verse 21.
Reading from the book of Romans, chapter 9, verse 21. Had not the potter power over the clay?
Start at verse 20.
All right. Reading from the
Verse
book of
19.
Romans,
Start at 19.
chapter 9, verse 19.
Mhm.
Thou wilt say then unto me, why doth he yet find fault? For who hath resisted his will?
And this is the same thing Solomon was saying. It's like, how you gonna blame the Most High? What man is gonna say? So when we tell the so-called white man his judgment, he's gonna be like, well, that's not fair. Take it up with God, because God made everybody. He made the script. Isaiah 46:10 said he wrote the script from the beginning, and he said his counsel will stand. Take that up with God. How dare you open your mouth to say, well, that's not right. Why God do that? That's not right. Go on.
Nay, but O man, who art thou that repliest against the Most
How
High?
you gonna, your arms too short to box with God? How you gonna tell God it's not fair? Or why did God do this? Go on.
Shall the thing formed say to him that formed it? Salak. Salak. Let me read that again.
Uh-huh.
Nay, but O man, who art thou that replies against the Most High? Shall the thing formed say to him that formed it, why hast thou made me thus?
Mm-hmm.
Verse 21, has not the potter power over the clay of the same lump to make one vessel unto honor and another another unto dishonor?
So the Most High does what he will. We don't get a say in this. We can, Israel, as he say, we're the only nation he knows. We could plead to the Most High, but at the end of the day, the Most High does his will. Even Yawasap said before he was supposed to be delivered up, he said, please pass this cup from me, but not for my will, for thy will. You know, and Yawasap's on his right hand in the Most High. And Yawasap said, not because I want it, let your will be done. You know, all we can do is plead to the Most High. But at the end of the day, it's the Most High's will. He decides what's it going to be, right? So now let's go to Genesis chapter 9, verse 18.
Read it.
Can I just say one real quick?
Mm-hmm.
You just read one of the greatest and one of the biggest things that we live through right now is women that say, "Why has that made me so?" Because they can't figure out. They don't like men. They like women. They
It's
don't-
got,
one of those little things. They don't get it. They don't understand it.
and I think with stuff like that too, it's rejecting the will of the Most High. There, you know, Romans 1:25, you know, is this desire You know, and at the end of the day, man, I look at it as they've drunk the Kool-Aid of Esau. You know, they've accepted this. I can be I be all I can be what I want to be, and they think that their brain has enough wisdom to reject the Most High's wisdom.
Baby formula.
Baby formula?
A lot of people don't understand. By taking baby formula, when they were born, they changed. And now that they can think amongst themselves, they don't understand. It was called baby formula, or it was called vaccinations.
Yeah.
And that's what.
And the truth is, man, it's a lot of things that they do to, you know, Esau's the mad scientist, you know, and he's gonna experiment. And I know for a fact, soy, if you deal with a lot of soy, it affects your testosterone level. Aluminum affects your testosterone level. A lot of things that they'll do to you affect your testosterone levels, and people are imbalanced. You know, they don't understand what's going on. I'm a boy, I'm a girl, you know, and they don't understand that, you know, sometimes you just got to simplify things. You know, I was watching this post recently when you know, this African woman was combating a so-called white woman, and you know, she said she was basically talking about transgenderism and how it's gotten out of control, right? Because she's saying that they were talking about the woman of the year, and this devil woman was saying she believes that the woman of the year should be given to one of these transgender women because it's a sign of welcoming for the American system, welcoming, you know, similar to how they gave Bruce, Caitlyn Jenner, she received Woman of the Year once.
What?
Right? And Chris Rock made the joke, she shouldn't be Woman of the Year. If anything, she should be Rookie of the Year, you know, because it was her first year after the, you know, and the woman said, no, it deserves to be a natural woman because this I feel thing has gotten out of control, because now they say that they feel like they're a woman. What happens if she wake up and say, I feel like a leopard? You know, you can't say that I am any less wrong for feeling like a leopard than the man who feels like a woman, right? And then she also said that, then the woman's like, so what defines a woman? And she's like, y'all make things too complicated. Chromosomes determines what you are. She's like, the man has 23X, the woman has 22X. That's it. It's biology. Biology already made you what you are. This is just a matter of people overthinking stuff. I feel like this. I feel like this. Well, the Most High don't give a damn about how you feel. You know, the Most High made you with this amount of chromosomes, and he assigned you. You are a man. Stay a man. And your anatomy. You know, like if you know, I posted recently they say that if 100 trans women and 10 men were left on a desert island, it says if 100 women and 10 men were left on a desert island and you left them alone for 100 years, you'll come back and find a thriving community. But if 100 trans women and 10 men was left on a desert island, you'll come back and find the skeletons of 110 men. You know, and it's just that simple. It's just like we overcomplicate things. You know, we overcomplicate things. Like, forget how you feel. What does biology say? What does biology say? Biology, most I don't make no mistakes with these kind of things, you know. But this is what we're seeing. What we're seeing is a lot of just people are living in their heads. You know, people are living in their heads and they're not living in the real world. You know, just got to get out of your head a little bit. Like, you want to know truths of life? Ask a kid. Right. A kid don't give a damn. You know, I know people who are living that alternate lifestyle. 2 women raising a kid. and you ask the kid what's going on, he'll say, I have two mommies. You don't say I have a mommy and a daddy. I have two mommies. The kid even though this woman is acting the role of a man and dressing like a man and playing a man, the kid you're still a woman. You know, we just got to this weird place in society.
You know, like I say, it's like they lowered themselves below the animals because the animals know the difference. You won't see a horse trying to go with an elephant.
Exactly.
They lower themselves so low, we're beneath the animals now.
And it's this you know it's a everything is a process. You know, it just stack up on top of each other, on top of each other. Nothing just happens. Everything is a progress. You even see that in Genesis 1. Everything was a progress, right? And the thing is now we're at this individualism state where the individual, how I feel instead of how my nation feels, you know? And conversations, I say it's we're at a great place though, right? Because the men are waking up. The men are waking up and we're willing to have these conversations now, you know, and you know, the women for the most part are ruling the world, right? But the reason they want the women to rule the world is so that those few men can control those women who are running the world. Because if the woman is running your house, by extension, she's running you. And Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all of that is subtly programming her to bring that BS to you. You understand? Like we see it. Like I like to, for my own household, I like to let my wife understand certain things. Like the serpent didn't come to Adam. The serpent came to Eve, and Eve brought that to Adam. And it's the same way we see it in society today. Like me, my life, I like real simple things. I don't care for the flashy stuff, right? But a woman, you know, we West Indian, we say woman wah 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 like an ambulance, because that's all. I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that, and through their wants. How come you ain't buy me that, Shaquat? You know, and she, you know, I can see it. Eve coming to Adam. Come do this, Adam. Trust me, you ain't know what you've been missing, Adam. And you know, after a few, like, all right, let me exactly, you know, and they, I feel like the most I make your ribs voice pitch just a perfect pitch to scratch against that nail. You know what I mean? Like. And you gonna give in after a while. So what the thing is like they target the women, they target the children. They know that the men, a man can live in an apartment with just a bed, a TV, and that's about it. He don't need the extras. But so they don't target when they do these commercials and stuff like that. They're not targeting you. They're targeting your rib, the weaker vessel. They're gonna try to get to her. The scriptures say man and woman become one flesh. So she's one flesh with you. So when they get to her, brother, it's a matter of time before they get to you. So, you know, like what we got to do is we got to be real simple. Like, you know, just keep things simple. And this is just the time that we're in right now. They're aiming for the woman. They're aiming for your kids. They want you to keep up with the Joneses and have what the haves have, or you're the have-nots. You know, so all of this is nonsense, man. This whole system gotta go. The men are waking back up. We're having these kind of conversations now, and when you put these women to the test and you ask them pertinent questions. I fully believe in this Israelite, right? That as Israelites, we are the only men who are equipped to have these kind of conversations, because we come from principles, right? We have a foundation of principle that me as a person I don't know, squat. I'd go along with it. But because I see the instructions and the words of the Most High and the wisdom that he gives, now when I face a situation, I'll reflect on the wisdom in the scriptures, and then I'll make the decision. So we can have these conversations. So when a woman wants to feel liberated by promiscuity, right? I want to choose my words wisely, right? A woman feel liberated by promiscuity. What ends up happening is, that I seen some women say that a man feels threatened by her body count. No, we don't.
Really.
We don't feel threatened by your body count. What we feel is like, if you have a high body count, right? Sex is your only medium to express yourself.
Yeah.
That is a problem. You allow a high amount of men. So sex is more intimate for a woman, naturally by design. We, unless you're into alternative lifestyle, we don't get penetrated. Someone enters into a woman. A woman with a high body count allows a lot of men to enter her. You know what that is? You understand? Like, to enter you. So when we talk about these kind of things, and we can rationalize it, you understand why the scriptures talk about for the woman to be chaste, for a woman to be shamefaced. Why? Because now, there's an old saying, and I love my people because we have great sayings. They say you cross the street too many times, you're gonna get hit. You in front of these men too many times, what do you think is gonna happen? That's why the scriptures tell the woman to be chaste and discreet and shamefaced, protecting her, because the value of a woman is in the man.
That's right.
In the man that sees her. We don't want. They say a lock, a key that can open many locks is called a master key.
That's right.
A lock that's opened by any key is useless. You understand? So, like, we have to have these conversations. As an Israelite, right? The Most High gave us the wisdom. He gave us the wisdom, and we have to be able to reach our people. When the scriptures say, Yawasap said, go out into the streets that my Father's house may be built, he's telling us we got to be willing to go out there and have these conversations with these people. When it says he sent us out to be fishers of men, we have to go out there and be willing to have these conversations with people. Like, it's cool to laws, but we have to be able to reach people where they're at. We have to be able to reach people where they have these conversations with them. Like, yes, scriptures, absolutely. Give them the sense, give them the scripture behind it. Let them realize that this book ain't what you think it is. This book, they mystify this book. They make this book all about some mythical experience when this book is literally common sense that we ain't got common, right?
Right.
But let's go back to that, because I only got a few more verses. Genesis 9 and verse 18.
Read it from the book of Genesis.
Oh, this is talking about the curse of Cain and Salakia. Let's see what else I want to do. Let's go to Daniel 2 and 44. So when they say about the kingdom and everybody in it and all of that, like all nations of people and blah, 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 all I'm trying to do is show people, the scriptures speak expressly about Canaanites not being in there, Moabites and Ammonites not being in there, Edomites getting exterminated. So how is all nations saved? It's impossible for all nations to be saved, right? And salvation isn't the same thing as blessing, right? And this is what we got to remember. And this is going to be my final scriptures for the day.
Read it from the book of Daniel, chapter 2, verse 44. And in the days of these kings shall the power of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed.
So the Most High in the end, he's going to set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed.
And the kingdom shall not be left to other people.
What? It's everybody's in the kingdom.
And the kingdom shall not be left to other people.
And the kingdom is not going to be left to other people. There's no equality in the kingdom. There's no equality in the kingdom. We are the top nation, as Isaiah chapter 2 says, and all nations will come to learn from us. It says the kingdom will not be left to other people.
But it shall break in pieces.
But we shall what?
It shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms. It shall stand forever.
And we're going to consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever, right? Because we think that just the Holy Land, right? Just Jerusalem, right? Is ours, right? From the Nile to the Euphrates, he promised Abraham, right? But the scriptures also say that wherever our sole of our feet touch belongs to us.
Right.
So guess what? This whole world belongs to us because we were sent into all nations, right? And this is what we have to understand, that we're ultimately in the end, we're going to consume all nations.
That's right.
All right, next
That's
verse.
what Ezra said.
That's exactly made for our sakes. Yep.
That's right. Verse 45. For as much as thou sawest that the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands.
So who is this stone that was cut out of the mountain without hands? Anybody know? Yawasap. That's the stone that was cut out of the mountains. Go on.
And that it break in pieces the iron, the brass, the clay, the silver, and the gold.
So we know that these elements, these metals, represented nations and kingdom. And Yahawashah is going to break in pieces all of them. Go on.
The great Yahweh hath made known to the king what shall come to pass hereafter. And the dream is certain, and the interpretation thereof sure.
It says, and God, Yahweh made known what shall come to pass hereafter. And the dream is certain. This is certainly going to happen. And the interpretation, the way Daniel is telling it, sure it's going to happen. One last verse. Let's go to Psalms chapter 2. Because Yahawashah says he's going to break these nations in Daniel, right? But let's see what Yahawashah is supposed to do pertaining to us. You could start verse 8, Psalms 2, and I believe.
Read it from the book of Psalms, chapter 2, verse 8. Ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance.
So the Most High is telling Yahawashah, just ask, and I'm going to give you the heathen for your inheritance. Go on.
And the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession.
And we're gonna the uttermost parts. That when we read that, we think uttermost meaning the top, but when it says uttermost, it means the extent of the earth as our possession. Go on.
Verse 9: Thou shalt break them with a rod of iron, that thou shalt dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel.
So this is Yahawashah. It says, thou shalt break them with a rod of iron. Thou shalt dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. I got one last scripture, right? Let's go to Revelation chapter 2, verse 26. Because that's Yahawashah, right? The Most High given Yahawashah the power to do that. Rule the world, destroy these nations, right? Now let's see what Yahawashah say for us.
Read it from the book of Revelation, chapter 2, verse 26. And he that overcometh and keepeth my works unto the end, to him will I give power over the nations.
So the Most High gave Yahawashah power over the nations, and Yahawashah says if you do his works and keep his word, he's going to give us power over the nations. What are we going to do with it?
Verse 27, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron, as the vessels of the potter shall they be broken to shivers, even as I received of my father.
So the same way the Most High gave Yahawashah that power, he's going to give it to us. And with that, I say, Kwam Yasha'Allah.
Kwam Yasha'Allah.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
All praise.
Yeah.